Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you firstly to the Canadian High Commission and to the Northern Miner for allowing us to present here today. Archie Comsides, the CEO, is actually working diligently in Perth trying to finalize our BFS study. So recently we announced that we'd moved up from 4.76 million ounces up to 5.1 million ounce reserve in northern Ghana. Very proud of that. It was discovered in November 2014 with the fifth drill hole, I think, had 150 meters at 3 grams intercept, and we've drilled about 120,000 meters of drilling there. About 80% of it is diamond. On the screen in front of you, you can see the shareholder base. Goldfields bought on market. They have about 11% of us. On the left-hand side, you can see the listed options. There's about 110 million listed options. They're in the money. They were granted about 5 years ago when the company needed money, a one-for-one. About $15 million will come in with those before the end of September this year, which will add to our coffers of about 25 billion Australian dollars. Covered by some analysts there, and we've got equal shareholder base really in Australia and Canada, about 40 or 35% each. We do need some more UK investors, so it would be great to see that happen. The board now, we've augmented our board of recent times, adding Ken Thomas, who most of you would know. He's a Canadian resident living in Oakville. He was with Barrick, with Peter Monk, third employee there. He's a metallurgist, extremely well known, well regarded. We also added Trevor Schultz, who is, he built a Boise in Ghana, lived there for 6 years. He worked with me on Centamin when he built Sakari, 10 million ton per annum operation. And then Archie Comsides and Malik both live in country. And they've been, Archie's been there for about 25 years, I think. Malik's a native Ghanaian, so a very good rapport with the local government. And that's really important for us going forward because we're now getting a lot of assistance from the government working on a stability agreement, which is critical for going forward. I mean, it will help us a lot with our tax rates, royalties, and the like. In the country. Now Ghana, everybody knows, is one of the jewels in Africa as far as where you'd like to be. There's a lot of other countries that are good too, but Ghana in particular has got a rich mining history. And down in the south is where really most of the deposits have been discovered. And it was always thought that up to the north there was nothing but cover. But Archie and Malik discovered this outcrop right where the cover breaks, up at the north there with, I don't think there's a pointer, is there? No. So up where Bolgatanga is, and it's about 80 kilometers south of Burkina Faso. It's a granted mining license. It's 7 kilometers for water. It's all year running water. It's about 25, 30 kilometers for power. The power comes from a hydroelectric facility on Lake Volta, and it goes up to north to Burkina Faso, so there's capacity there and good rates for us on that. And it's a paved road all the way from Accra through to West Africa. So we'll fly an hour up to the middle of, mid to north of Ghana to Tamale, and then drive for 2 hours along the bitumen up to Bolgatanga, about 30,000 locals there. Right into the financials here. We did an initial study of PEA with a 4.5, 7, and 9.5 million ton per annum operation. We settled at 9.5 because the economics stacked up a lot better. This hasn't been updated yet for the 5.1 million ounces. It's still 4.76. Conservative numbers on the pit shell, 1,100, and then 1,250 with the financials. It's about 415 million US capex. It'll be about the same with the PFS, or sorry, the BFS. And all-in sustaining costs, a life of mine about 770. For the first 2.5 years, we have higher grade in our starter pit, so it's about $600. And importantly, we've got a less than 2-year payback for the capital outlay, which is excellent. And I'll go through that in a little while. And as Mark said, he likes projects that have better than 15% post-tax IRR. So in our numbers at the moment, we're plus 30%, which was decent. If you look at, again, the strip ratio, in our starter pit, 0.5 to 1, which is extremely low. Life of mine's about 1.4 to 1. We're going to be mining about 350,000 ounces in year 1 to 3, pretty much, and then 300,000 ounces after that for a total of 14-year life. Yes, the grade's low, that's fine. It's one big pit, low grade, but when we go through the METs, you'll see why we're not concerned about that. A little schematic here to show you that the sensitivities, that it's okay even at low gold prices. I have an issue with having 5% sensitivities on here, but that's what us Canadians do. So I'd rather say 10%, and I think that's something that our industry should really start to address, but it is what it is. Namdini's a little star on the right there. It's a granted mining license. We're in the throes of finalizing our updated environmental permit, and that should be submitted shortly. It's a very straightforward process with the government to have the operating permit granted following that submission. As I said, the president, he's from the south down in Accra, the vice president's from the north, and in Ghana, it's really been a disparate country where there's a lot of wealth and mining and cocoa plantations down south, and up the north, it's really people are not as well off. So this will be quite a nice development for them. They're really pushing hard and working closely with us to do this. On a long section, you can see the deposit. It's a gold mine, but it's really almost like a porphyry. It's a granite that's been intruded, shattered, and then pyrite has come in. It's been fractured, and gold and pyrite have been deposited in fractures in the pyrite. So it's particulate gold. Some of it's very fine, but most of it's okay. And in that starter pit, you can see on the left there, it's about 1 million ounces of, it starts at about 1.8 grams in year one, and then it moves down to an average of about 1.35 grams. So that pays back our capital very quickly. There's a series of nested pits then to the final pit, and the strip ratio life of mine is about 1.4 to 1. It is open at depth. We've drilled at depth, but why would you carry on drilling when it's a lower grade deposit? Yes, we have done studies to show that it can be mined at higher throughput rates, but we're not a large company and we just need to get going. So in cross section, this is what I mean, it's like a porphyry. It's 350 meters wide, so it's quite a big body. It's granite hosted, pretty much. There's diorite and volcanics there, but that granite's just been shattered, and there's a couple of phases of gold mineralization. And as I said, we got about 120,000 meters of drilling into that. Everything's had SGs done and very professionally laid out by the guys. So the key here is this is like sentiment at Sakari and Perseus's operations. It's not whole of ore, so our capital's lower. We have a 10 million, say, front end, and then we make a concentrate, and we have a 1 million ton per annum back end. So our capital for steel and cement is lower for our capital costs. Operating costs throughout are generally lower, except for where our regrind circuit is. So we crush, grind, float, and then that float goes from 1.1, 1.2 grams up to ½ ounce, and then you've got a ½ ounce on the deck to start working with. There is some gold, it's gravity gold, 10 to 20%. And then the regrind is now what we're doing. We're optimizing the recovery versus how much energy you want to put in. Thankfully, we've got hydropower, so for us, it's a pretty good deal. And then we just go right into a CIL circuit and just your normal electrowinning and doré on site. This is what it looks like where the pit will be. It's all flat savanna. There is a rainy season, but and it slows you up when you're exploring, but when you're mining, it won't be an issue. Unlike the south where we have very heavy tropical rains, that's not what we get here. I might add too, though, that the test work we did with the METs, we used the water from the White Volta in the winter and summer seasons to make sure there's no surprises there. And I'm a structural geologist, so this is the part I like. Not that I don't mind building mines, but Namdini's down in the south there, that license, and the main Ngati Shear has another 3 deposits that we know of on it right now, and the Yuga mine is up in Burkina Faso. But over to the right of where it says historic Ngati mine, we haven't even got a dot on there yet. We've now found a structural corridor that's running north-south, which is a big surprise. It's undercover. We didn't know about it. No artisanals will be in there. We've now done detailed radiometrics, magnetics, soils, and we announced about 6 or 8 weeks ago, a new discovery with 3 to 15 grams within 10 meters of surface. So we're obviously focused on that area because that'll have a material impact not only on market news, but also on the economics for our deposit. So it's about a 900 kilometer square package. We've got all the geochem and everything done, so it's now all hands on deck trying to augment that into our other development of Namdini. So in the timeline, we're really pushing to get the bankable feasibility study done by the end of June. So we got about 6 weeks to go, 5 weeks to go. Financing following that, a decision to mine before the end of the year, and it's an 18-month to 2-year build for the plant. So we're hoping to be in production in early to mid 2022. And there we are. Thank you.